Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. We're just going to wait for a couple more minutes for everyone else to arrive, and then we'll get started. Okay, we're ready to get started. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining. So this webinar today is around, it's called Simplify Making Tax Digital with Xero. My name is Claire Palmer. I'm a partner consultant here at Xero, and I will be presenting the core part of the content today. Now, this webinar is being delivered exclusively to you as a client of Mitchell Charlesworth, and the content is all focused around ensuring you are confident and ready for making tax digital for income tax, whether you were mandated to join from the 6th of April this year, or whether your time might be coming up next April in 2027 or even 2028. So we'll kick off with some introductions first of all. I'm just going to hand over to Cliff from Mitchell Charlesworth to make an introduction first of all.
Hi, I'm Cliff, manager at Mitchell Charlesworth. I've been in accountancy for 34 years, and roughly half of that time has been advising clients on various software solutions. For that reason, I was asked to be in charge of the Making Tax Digital group here at Mitchell Charlesworth, and we feel that we're giving you the best offering with Xero.
Brilliant. Thanks, Cliff. My current role as a partner consultant means I work with accounting and bookkeeping practices across the UK to ensure that they and their clients are getting the full value out of Xero as a cloud accounting system. But actually, in a previous life, I actually spent my time helping small business owners like yourselves in getting set up and using Xero to its full potential. I'm also joined by my colleague Natasha, who's going to be helping out on the Q&A today. Natasha.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Claire. I'm also one of the partner consultants here at Xero. I was 15 years in practice before joining Xero, and I've been at Xero for about 4 years now. And the same as Claire, back in my previous life as well, also helping the small businesses, really getting the most out of Xero and helping them see their potential going forward as well.
Thanks, Natasha. Perfect. So before we crack on with the content, just a bit of housekeeping to start with. So for the best audio and visual experience, I do recommend that you do quit any other applications you may have running in the background. So emails, messaging, etc. And that is just to make sure that the content and the presentation is on point. If you do lose the visuals at any point, just look out for the Zoom icon in your toolbar, and that will bring you straight back into the presentation. Now, you do have some webinar controls, which you should be able to find, and they are the raise hand, the chat box, and also the Q&A. So the Q&A, that is where you can collate any questions that you've got throughout the content today. So please do use that as we go through and just capture anything that you need to ask. Obviously, Cliff and also Natasha will be manning the Q&A throughout the presentation, and we do have an additional section towards the end of the content today to go over any remaining questions or any questions that would be best for everyone to hear the answers to. So just on the agenda for today, so I'm going to hand over to Cliff in a moment, who's just going to talk, give you a kind of recap on MTD in general, and also MTD for income tax in terms of timelines and the requirements. And then we're going to back over to me and we're just going to dive into how to keep digital records in Xero. So I'm going to take you through the basic steps of how to record your business income and your business expenditure, to reconcile your bank account, to check and review your transactions. And then I will finish up with a sneak sort of very quick overview in terms of filing quarterly updates to HMRC under MTD for income tax. And then we'll finish and wrap up at the end with any Q&A. Perfect. So just handing over to Cliff now.
Thank you, Claire. So what is Making Tax Digital? As you can see from the slide in front, this was introduced some time ago. Now, it's part of HMRC's overarching thing to kind of move to a new computer system. Their systems were segregated, so corporation tax lived on one machine, income tax on another, VAT on another, and they're now being joined up onto one centralized system. Making Tax Digital was a big part of that. It was first brought out for VAT back in 2022, and I was heavily involved in moving clients over to software at that point. And now it's impacting you as self-assessment, income tax, and landlords. What it means is that you must use compatible software because you'll have to transmit data directly into HM Revenue and Customs computer system at their end. That'll be on quarterly updates to HM Revenue and Customs plus a final adjustment. If you can go to the next slide, please, Claire. Great. Oh, am I able to move this slide myself? Sorry.
No.
There we go. So MTD for income tax came across these timelines we can see here. We've already had the testing phase that was open, is now closed. We had a few clients going through that. For April 2026, it comes in for sole traders and landlords with qualifying income over £50,000. Now, what's meant by qualifying income? And it is important to stress that it is income and not profits. They're literally the income from your sole trader, the income from your rental, and it also includes foreign property rentals as well. And if any combination of those three added together go over £50,000 for the tax year 2024-25, then that'll be the return that was submitted last January at the latest. Then you're hit by this now. In the tax year 25-26, so that's the tax year just ended, if any of those combinations go over 30,000, you're caught by this next year. And then for the 26-27 tax year, if any of those in any combination add up to over £20,000, then you'll be caught the year after. Beyond that is anybody's guess at the moment, but at some point I suspect that those first joining to self-assessment will just be joining and signing up for Making Tax Digital instead of self-assessment. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So it isn't just all about compliance. If you do use the software, there are benefits to be gained out of this, and we're very eager to stress that. By using software, you're able to get a clearer view of things. So with a bank feed, you have a live feed in of your transactions on a day-to-day basis. And providing you keep on top of the software and use the automation to help you doing that, you'll be able to see where you are. So kind of gone of the days where you might be submitting your tax return within the last 3 months before it's due and suddenly being stuck with a large bill for the tax, because you haven't really had that visibility. Now, as the year goes on, you'll be keeping your records, you'll be seeing what kind of profit or loss you're making, you'll have a much clearer understanding of what that future tax liability is going to be and be able to plan accordingly with your finances for it. As it says there, it'll also help with wider decision making. You'll be able to see much earlier, instead of the days where you'd bring the records into us and we'd prepare your year-end accounts, which could be 3 to 4 months after your year end and after the event. You'll be able to see much more live of work where you're up to. And if your business is making a loss somewhere, you can then make more active use of that and kind of think, well, what can we do to steer the ship on the right course? Or conversely, if your business is doing really well and you might think, okay, well, that helps me make a decision about purchasing that new asset that I wanted to buy or something else that'll both save me in tax when it comes to the year end because it's bought within, and it gives me the confidence that I need to be able to know that I can afford to do those things. So it is helping. And I think the important thing to stress here when it comes to the software, and this is the reason that we've kind of came to the decision that Xero is definitely the right fit for you all, is the automation that's built into the software to help you do this. I'm always a great advocate of saying that, you know, you didn't go into the trade you went into to become a bookkeeper. It's just a side product of what you have to do in order to maintain your business. So the more that bookkeeping side can be automated and effectively partially done for you, the better. So you're not having to worry about that side of it, and you can concentrate on the things you're good at, which is what your business does. We can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I did briefly mention this a minute ago, but basically there's 4 quarterly updates that have to be submitted directly into HMRC's computer. The quarters are set for everybody, so it's June, September, December, and March. It's not like VAT where you can have staggered quarters. Um, those have to be done within a month and 7 days of each quarter end, similar to those of you who are VAT registered will know that that's similar to how VAT works. It's important to stress it isn't a full tax return that's getting submitted. It's in essence a mini profit and loss, as we call it. It's the page SA 103 from your tax return. It's just the income and the different expense categories. So your bookkeeping software is ideally placed to provide that information and send it into HMRC. There's then a final declaration that's required by 31st of January following the tax year that's ended. So in effect, that final declaration is what replaces the current self-assessment tax return, and it is, to all intents and purposes, the actual tax return itself. The quarterly updates, just to note as well, are cumulative. So when you're doing the second quarter, which would be to September, it's for the 6 months to September. So if you've missed something in the first quarter to June, it's not the end of the world. It'll get picked up in that next quarterly update. You must keep digital records. I think the digital records have got a definition of being at least the date, the payee or payor, that's the third party to you, and the amount is the minimum. You'd want more than that, of course. You want to know what it is, and if you're VAT registered, you'd need to know the VAT side of it as well. And you must use MTD compatible software. You know, like I've said a couple of times, it's got to transfer the data directly from your system into HMRC's system. There's no pen and paper in between those two touch points of data.
Great.
Go with the next slide, please, Claire. Yeah, there we go. I'll hand back to Claire now for introduction to Xero.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Cliff. Thank you. Perfect. So let's talk a little bit more about Xero now. So Xero is powerful and it's easy to use online accounting software, and it has everything that you need to really be able to master MTD for income tax. So obviously it's MTD compliant, HMRC recognised, and it is designed to make everyday accounting tasks simpler. So Xero automates data entry, and Cliff's already mentioned a couple of things around automation, streamlines that bank reconciliation process, simplifies invoicing, provides tools for capturing data, and at the back of it, connects seamlessly to HMRC to help make MTD filing time a breeze. So with Xero, you can view and work with up-to-date financial data, and it's easy to share access. You can collaborate with your key contacts at Mitchell Charlesworth. And plus Xero's visual dashboards and customizable reports mean that together you can make smart, informed decisions about your business. So the key features of MTD software like Xero are to take you through from receipt capture, so from capturing those expenses all the way through to that tax submission in the one platform. So it's Xero's helping you to stay on top of MTD for income tax, but also giving you that control of your business finances so you can make those informed decisions. So that's enough about introducing Xero as a software. I'm going to just jump straight in now and we can take a look at Xero live now. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take you through, I'm broken it down into different sections. So we're going to go into Xero now. And the first section that we're going to be looking at today is around some background setup and settings. Now, ultimately, your contact at Mitchell Charlesworth will be helping with that initial setup, but really it's just for an awareness for you so that you can see how Xero can be tailored to suit your needs. So oh, let's flip over now. Okay, that was not very smooth, was it? So starting off with the home page. So this is when you log into Xero for the first time, this is what you're going to see. So this is a home page, and really this is your central control point, so you can really stay on top of everything that's going on in your business. Obviously, when you're first starting at Xero, it's going to look pretty empty until you start actually creating and creating transactions within Xero. But just over this dashboard here, we've got things like the bank account, so you can very quickly enter in and go into your bank reconciliation. We've got some tasks here, so it's just telling me that I've got 17 items to reconcile in my bank, and I've also got overdue invoices, so I've got customers that owe me money. I can also edit this homepage as well to really customize and see what I want to see. So move the tiles around and exclude or include any other tiles as well. And also we can have what's called a chart of accounts watch list. And these are any codes that you will be posting transactions against and things that you would like to keep an eye on just on your homepage. So that could be your sales sales, and that will give you a month to date view, and also a year to date as well when you start creating transactions. Okay, so going across the top here, this is where you can dive down deeper into certain sections. So we've got a section for sales, in which case you can enter in here to actually open up the sales section and see who owes you money, any invoices and what status they're in, etc. And then also you've got the purchase section, then we've got the reporting section. So that's all of your reports. And then the accounting section. So this is where you will find some of the background settings, which I'm going to go into in a moment. And then we've got tax, and this is where you can go in and view your MTD for income tax dashboard and do any quarterly filings if you are doing those yourself. And then over towards the right here, we've got a quick link button here. So you can very quickly create any of these sorts of transactions. A search function to be able to search anywhere in Xero if you need to locate something. We've got the help button here. So this will be your go-to place when you really need to support. So you will find that you will need a reminder, a refresher on how to do certain things, whether that might be setting up a bankroll or creating a sales invoice or customizing a sales invoice. That is your go-to place to get the help that you need quickly. Okay, so I'm going to go into the accounting button at the moment. I'm just going to go into the settings for a moment. Okay, so I'm in the settings page. Now, just to point you towards the organisation details here, first of all. So as you can see here, I've got the section here where I can put in my business name. In this case, we've got Cook Plumbing and the industry type, and we've also got the organisation type, which is set as sole trader. If you are a landlord and just have UK property income, then you will be listed as a person. There's also additional information that you can put in here. And if you are going to be creating and sending invoices to send out to your customers directly from Xero, then these details here will automatically pop up on your invoices. So it would be worth checking in here and just making sure you've got everything as you want it in there. So I'm just going to go back into the settings once again, and I will just confirm in terms of the financial settings for a moment. So here in the financial settings page, we have listed what your financial year end date is. And also, if I was a CIS subcontractor, which some of you may be, then you can register as a subcontractor here. And this just means that, again, when you're entering in your income transaction as a sales invoice, then automatically you can have your subcontractor deduction rate under the CIS scheme. Okay, so let's go back into the accounting and counting settings. Now there's just one more section I just want to cover off. I won't go, again, not go into too much detail because your contacts at Mitchell Charlesworth will be assisting you here. But some of you may well be have two sources of income, i.e. you have income from both self-employment and you also have property income as well. Now, ultimately, in most cases, this just means that you can do everything you need to do under just one Xero subscription. And so in order to put in the background to make sure that when you enter a transaction in, you can assign it to say whether it's to do with self-employment or to do with your property, then this is where tracking comes into it. So again, don't worry too much about the detail around this, but it's just for your awareness. And you will see these options pop up when we go into the entering transactions section. So here we've got a tracking category name we've just called it MTD for income tax. And underneath that, I have got an option that says self-employment, so Cook Plumbing. And then I've also got two properties that Mr. Cook also rents out as well. And that just means is every time I enter in a transaction, whether that's to do with income or expenditure, I can assign whether that transaction relates to Cook Plumbing or relates to the UK properties. Okay, so that is enough around the background settings. I'm just going to go back to my home page just once again. And I'm going to just cover off in terms of the bank account now. Now you can see here, I've already got 17 items to reconcile. And that is because a bank account has been connected and I have a bank feed coming through. Now, this is a secure connection, and it means that most UK banks are enabled for this. So if you have online banking, you should be able to set a bank feed up. Now, all that happens in setting up a bank feed and connecting means that every day your transactions, not your banking, not any there's no security issue there. It just brings in your day-to-day transactions. Now, what this means is that you can very easily keep up to date with your digital record keeping. It makes things a lot easier and it saves you a lot of time. Now, when you come to setting up a bank feed in Xero, it is really easy. Now, all we need to do is, first of all, create a bank account, add bank account, and then we can search the bank here. So I'm going to select NatWest, for instance, and it will take you through the secure steps to import your transactions. Now, once that connection is made, under normal circumstances, that connection doesn't need to be renewed until, well, it varies across different bank accounts, but it should be around 3 months and upwards. Some banks do not need to be refreshed for 18 months. So here we go. We reverted across straight into NatWest now, and we can walk through the steps to securely connect my bank now. I'm not going to be able to do that in real life, but what I have got here is the connection that's been made here. Now, what you can also do is, because we are past the 6th of April and you need to, if you're mandated to join MTD for income tax, you should also be able to backdate that feed. So you should be able to bring in your transactions as from the 6th of April onwards. Okay, so most banks allow that. What I also have set up here as well is my out-of-pocket expenses. Now, this is a dummy bank account, so it's not a real one. I haven't got a feed connected with this. And the purpose of this is that I want to be able to capture any income and expenditure that relates to my business but has been paid for outside of my main bank account. So I might have paid things by cash or by a personal credit card or something like that. I still want to be able to capture those transactions. And that is why we've got a dummy bank account set up. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to refer to this throughout the content when it comes to actually logging transactions, and that is a new tool called Smart Document Capture. Now, where it sits is in Xero Files. Now, Xero Files is already a document storage zone, so you can go paperless essentially. So you don't need to maintain your paper copies, that if you can capture digital copies of those receipts, then you can input them into Xero Files and store them here. You can also store any information or documents that are not related to actual business transactions. For example, a tenancy agreement, a contract, and you can still store them digitally within Xero, so it's all in one place, but you can also set up folders to keep them there and order them as you want to. Now, there is an additional tool that's built into Xero Files called Smart Document Capture. And this allows you to upload copies of receipts, for instance, or rental statements. And actually, there is an AI tool that works in the background to extract that information from that paper receipt and create that transaction for you. So therefore, it's saving you time again and further automating that process of creating and logging those digital records. Okay, so we will be coming back to that in a moment, but we will crack on with recording business transactions. Now, the final thing to note, which I will refer back to at the end of the webinar, is that our Xero accounting app is available for both Android and Apple phones. Now, everything I'm going to cover off today, and I have already done when I've mentioned setting up bank feeds, etc., that can all actually be done via the Xero mobile app on your phone. Now, this is just going to help you further to keep on top of things easily day to day, knowing that you don't have to wait until you can have time to sit down in front of your computer or your laptop. So that includes uploading of receipts into Smart Document Capture, creating invoices on the go, and reconciling your bank as well. Essentially, all of those day-to-day tasks that you're going to need to undertake. Okay, so I'm going to hop back into the home page. And now we're going to move on to the next section, which is actually recording business transactions in Xero. Okay, so back into here. Now I'm going to show you how to record a sales invoice, first of all. Now there are many different methods of creating an invoice in Xero in terms of how to get to invoicing. I'm going to show you the quickest way, and that is by using this quick link button here. So we can go into create new invoice. Okay, so what I'm going to do is create an invoice for Garden Design Company. So I can enter in the name of my customer in here. Now, if that customer is a repeat customer and they already exist in Xero, their contact name and details should automatically pop up. If it is a new contact, then you can add a new customer into your customer list. Then we can put in there the date of the invoice. And we can confirm what the due date is. This can be automated in the background depending on your payment terms. Alternatively, we can select +14, for instance, and it will work out 14 days added to the issue date. The invoice number, again, that's something that's automated in the background in terms of to suit your sequencing on your invoices. And you've also got the ability to set different themes for your invoice templates as well. So here we can go into the description on the invoice there. I'm going to just put in there, keep it simple, plumbing services. Quantity 1, and the total amount on the invoice there was 5930. Now, automatically, it's assigned that to the sales code in my chart of accounts, which is fine because it's a sales invoice. And the tax rate, because this business is not VAT registered, the tax rate is automatically being set to no VAT for me. That's fine. Now, the only thing I do want to do is make sure that in the background, this is assigned to the relevant side of my business, Cook Plumbing. So once I'm happy, I can then approve and add another if I have another invoice to add, or I can go to approve and email. So this is going to send out the invoice to this customer securely via email. So you can see here, I've already got logged an email address for the customer. And everything that you see here can be customized. So I can input things like the business logo onto this invoice as well, all to make it look nice and professional and to align with how I want it to look. The best thing is if you're sending it via email directly from Xero, is completely secure. And you can also track when that invoice has been viewed as well by the customer. Okay, so that's just a really simple invoice entry now. Now I'm going to hop back into Smart Document Capture in Xero Files because I want to show you around creating an invoice based on a rental statement from MH Lettings. So Mr. Cook, as we know, has also got property rentals. He uses a letting agent, and so every month he gets a letting statement, and they gross up obviously they net off the expenses that come as part of the agent fees. Now I have already loaded in an example of the letting statement in here. But ultimately you can upload, you can drag and drop files in here, you can even email files directly in. So if you receive any letting statements via email, you can just forward them straight into here. And it gives you the email address to utilise there. Okay, so here we've got 2 letting statements. I'm just going to go into the first one here. Okay, so what has Smart Document Capture done? So first of all, it's asking you to recognise what the contact is. So we can just confirm it is for MH Lettings. The next thing we need to do is confirm what type of document this is, and it is a rental statement. This detail here is automatically pulled off by the Smart Document Capture tool. And we also need to confirm how that payment is going to come in. So it's going to come into the bank account. And we've also confirmed that the amounts there's no tax related on there because we're not VAT registered. So here we've got a file summary here. So we've got quite a lot of detail here, and this is where the AI tool has come in to actually look at the text in that document and actually use logic then to create what that document is. So you can see here that the document includes rent receipts, agent fees, and also a washing machine repair. Now, in terms of how we want that to be pushed into Xero and create the transaction, you can see here it's broken down on a split line basis. And that's because we've got 2 properties to consider here in the portfolio. So we've got here rental income for 12 Greystone Road, which is fantastic. We've also got the monthly rent income for Stoke Close as well. And then netted off, we've got the expenses. We've got the letting agent fees for both properties split out. And then finally at the bottom there, we've also got the washing machine repair, which is allocated to 12 Greystone Road. So we've got the extracted total. So we've got the gross income and the netting off of the expenses. So we can now go ahead, and the AI has done that for us. It's created that transaction. It's entered all of the details. So we can then go in now and hit create transaction. Now what it will do is it will automatically create a draft sales invoice and attach that original document to it. Now the same goes for this other rental statement here. We've got another one from MH Lettings, and this time it's a little bit more, it's a little bit quicker because we've obviously already got the details as before, and it has remembered things. So we can just select no tax again. This time there's no washing machine repair. It's just rental income less the letting agent fees. So again, we can just select create transaction. Okay, so let's go back to our home page now so we can see where those transactions have now gone. So they've now gone into Xero, and where they will be sitting as in the invoice section in the drafts. Okay, so we've got our draft invoices sitting here ready for posting. So I've got one come through here. So you can see here, we've now got that document attached, which was the original letting agent statement. And we can now go ahead and just confirm the allocation to the properties. So 12 Greystone Road, 42 Stoke Close, as we go through. 12 Greystone Road and set. So we can just go to approve. We're not going to email that anywhere. We just need to put a due date on. There we go, approve. Fabulous. So that is now entered in as an income transaction, and that takes care of the rental side. Perfect. I'm just going to go into invoices once again, just to cover off just a couple more things around automations when it comes to sending sales invoices out to your customers. Now, the one great tool for time saving is setting up a repeating invoice. So an example would be perhaps you are a landlord that lets out to your tenants privately. You don't use a letting agent. Setting up a repeating invoice could be a really quick and easy way of automatically creating those invoices to enter into your sales transactions. So you can see an example here. So every month, automatically, on the 28th of the month, there is an automatic creation of an invoice that's for Daniel Clark, and it relates to this property here, and it's to go to rental income, and it's assigned for 12 Greystone Road, for example. In addition, you might be a self-employed person that has a repeating service or recurring service with the same customers. So repeating invoices can certainly save you time. And in addition to that, the other great tool that sits within invoices is being able to set up payment services as well. So you have the ability to collect payments online, and that is via these different methods here. It's all powered by Stripe. You can also accept payments by PayPal and also by Go Cardless as well. You can set this up from directly within Xero, And that just means that your debtor days are reduced. So if you do have particular issues with getting payment from customers, this is a real quick and easy way to provide a pay now button on your invoices to get paid faster. If you do have any questions about that, absolutely do reach out to your contact at Mitchell Charlesworth, who will be able to happy to talk you through your options for getting that set up. Great. So let's go into reconciling the business to bank transactions. And I'm going to go into there because although I haven't covered off any creating of expense transactions, you can do that from within reconciling your bank. So you can do two jobs at once. So I'm going to go into reconcile 17 items here. So not very many items to reconcile. And actually you have got the ability, once you've set that bank feed up, to keep on top of this bank reconciliation on a day-to-day basis, just meaning that you can do little and often. That's always the best way to keep on top of things. So this is the bank feed coming in on the left-hand side here. So these are the bank transactions that have imported via the bank feed. On the right-hand side is I can tell Xero how to categorize those transactions and tell Xero what they are. Are they a business transaction? Are they a expense transaction or the income transaction, etc. Now, what you will see is if you're utilizing Xero to enter in your sales invoices, then you'll have some nice matches in green here. So this is an income amount from MH Lettings, as you can see here. This amount here, and this matches in green to an invoice entry that I've just completed, and therefore it's matching this. So if that is the right match, you can just click on OK. There's also another match here, and we can go in green there, and then we've got our garden design company invoice there as well. So we've got some nice green matches to start with. Now, these here are all expense transactions, as you can see here. So I've got a couple of expenses transactions to Screwfix, and that's ultimately, it's a very irregular supplier for Cook Plumbing. Now, what I can do is further automate this by setting up something called bank rules. And this is just going to tell Xero that every time Screwfix comes up through the bank, I want you to automatically categorize that to purchases and categorize that with a description of Screwfix materials. And I also want you to make sure it's always set to Cook Plumbing for the expense transaction and how you want that to be posted. So I'm going to create a bank rule now. And this is just a further automation tool. Xero learns from what you do in essence. So it will remember and record how you categorize transactions previously, but this just makes it further consistent and fixed so that you can be sure that Xero is posting these transactions consistently and accurately for you. So setting up a bankroll, you can do this on spend money transactions, receive money transactions, and also transfer money rules. So that could be transfers from a current account to a savings account, for instance. So this is where you can set your conditions. So I want to say to Xero, anytime that the text field contains Screwfix in the bank, I want you to create a transaction that has the contact name of Screwfix, and I want you to always have the description set as Screwfix materials, for instance, and I want you to categorize that as purchases, so main purchases, and it's always for my self-employment. We can give that rule a name, so I'll just call it Screwfix, and then we can hit save. So that is an example very quickly of setting up a rule. And so as you can see here, when I'm looking at my bank reconciliation now, it's asking me, you've set up a rule for Screwfix, do you want to apply that rule? If we view the details, we can just be reminded of how we set that rule up to make sure we're happy with that. But if we are, we can just click on OK. And then that rule has come up again for the next transaction for Screwfix. So we can hit OK. So using bank rules is a really quick and easy way to just further speed up that process. You can see here I've got another rule set up for self-storage, so I'm just going to click on OK. Ultimately, I can set up further bank rules for things like bank charges or interest income, bank interest, for drawings. So I've got a number of rules set up here. So ultimately, on a day-to-day, if I was keeping up to date with my bank reconciliation, I should be able to do a lot of OK clicking to further automate the transaction input. Now, as an example here, what you will see is we've got a money spent to Orange Demo Company accountants, and it's already pre-filled who and what, how you want that to be categorized. And that is just due to the background, the memory and the automation. So it remembers what you do. I've already categorized a previous transaction to audit and accountancy fees, and therefore it's remembered that and bringing it back to you and suggesting, do you want to do that again with this transaction? And if you do, you can just click on OK once again. Okay, so finally, we're going to go back into Smart Document Capture for a moment, because this is all around keeping paperless records and capturing transactions that have taken place outside of the main bank account. So let's go back into Files once again, where we'll find Smart Document Capture. Now, you will remember that we set up a rule for Screwfix. So what I'm going to show you now is we've got an invoice for Screwfix here. And I'm just going to show you how we can add this document. So we've got the source record stored against the transaction that we've already reconciled. Now, again, this is a new document into Smart Document Capture, so I just need to do a bit of the setup. So it's Screwfix, and we're going to confirm that is a spend money transaction. And we're also going to confirm that it's paid from the bank account. And we've got, again, a file summary. So it's got a full list of all of the actual items that were purchased from Screwfix. If you want to have that level of detail, of course, you can have that in here. But otherwise, if you just want to have it all on one line, then you can do that there. Okay, so what it's done now is with that Screwfix document, it has just attached that now to the already created transaction that you've done via creating that bank rule. So therefore, you've gone paperless and you've got that full record of information all ready and stored in Xero. So finally, with Smart Document Capture, you can also utilise this to record transactions that sit outside of your main bank account. So an example here, I've got a receipt from Uber. This time I can create a spend money transaction, as you can see here, but this time I can associate that transaction with my out-of-pocket expenses account. And all of this means is once I create that transaction, oh, I need to put in the code for the first time. Once I create that transaction, it will then be sitting under my out-of-pocket expenses account and will still feed into my quarterly updates ready to send to HMRC. Let's hop into there now. Okay, and you can see there we've got our transaction for Uber, and there's the receipt there, and we've also got the entry of the transactions Uber ride from Xero, from Uber, and then we've got travel and subsistence as a category. Okay, perfect. So that's about recording transactions in Xero. Ultimately, that is very much the basics. And there is, just as a reminder, like there's multiple ways of getting to create the transactions in Xero, and you will find your best way of doing it. Please remember that you can do everything that I've just showed you on the Xero accounting app as well. Okay, so very quickly now, I'm going to give you a bit of a quick overview of filing a quarterly update to HMRC. Now that all of you will be impacted by this because some of you will be engaged with Mitchell Charlesworth to do that on your behalf. But just so that you can actually just see it on screen, I'll just run through that with you now. So I'm going to hop over into this demo here. And this is the MTD for income tax dashboard. So you'll see something like this. What it will do is it will have all of your obligations here. So you can see here all of your quarterly updates and when they're due for filing. Once a quarterly update becomes due, then it will immediately pop up in your to-do list. So after going through the process of first of all checking through all of your transactions in Xero, making any last minute amendments or corrections, once you're happy, that's when it feeds through and you're ready to do your quarterly update. So as you can see here, we've got an income and expenditure report, and these are all the categories. If you If you want to dig down and view any of the underlying transactions that make up these totals in this report, then you can absolutely do that. So for instance, we can just open up business entertainment costs, for instance, and we can further dig down into the transactions that make up that total. Essentially, once you are happy and ready to file, there's no further amendments to be made. You can go to Send to HMRC. So what it will do is you'll just send that report. So it's just your business income and expenditure, and it will just be made up of the transactions that you've entered into Xero. And we send that report over to HMRC. What will happen is by return, you'll get an estimated tax calculation figure, and that is based on the income and expenditure information that you've just sent over to HMRC. So that will accumulate over the year and retain updating, and will go up through the year depending on that data that you're sending over to HMRC. So just really wanted to give you a quick sneak peek of that. But ultimately, only some of you will be doing that. You're doing that yourselves. Okay, so what have we covered today? So basic Xero settings, just an overview of the background setup and how Xero can be tailored to suit your needs. How to record business transactions in Xero. So how to record sales invoices, how to record expenses, and ultimately how to utilize the automation tools that are within Xero to make that job easier. And then finally, a very quick overview in terms of filing the quarterly updates over to HMRC. So just a couple of next steps before I hop over to answer off any questions. So I've mentioned it a few times, but on the screen here, I've just put in the QR codes for the Xero apps. So I've got one for iOS, so Apple phones, and one for Android users. So we do recommend that as soon as you've got your login to Xero and you've got that set up on your computer or your laptop, that you do go ahead and download the app on your mobile device and get familiar with it. Secondly, for further sort of basic Xero skills learning courses, do please check out the Xero Central Learning. As a reminder, if you're in Xero, you can hit the question mark and you can dive into our Xero Central Learning Management learning platform. We have live webinars that we run. We have self-paced, simple kind of Xero basics courses, everything that you need to sort of get started. But absolutely, for more tailored and very specific things, or you've got certain business needs, then absolutely your team at Mitchell Charlesworth will be there to help you as well.